May 8th, and a special shout out to moms across San Diego. Happy Mother's Day weekend as we are about to get into what will be a really great weekend in terms of the weather, a celebration. So just wanted to make sure that we shouted out all the moms there for all of the great work that you guys do each and every day. And look, we have a lot of news to get to as well, too. A lot happening, both on the state level, the local level. We're going to have our Jenny Hull in studio today, or excuse me, joining us via phone to our studio.
In the virtual studio.
In the virtual studio.
Yes.
Jenny Hull will be making her weekly appearance to be discussing the very latest when it comes to the gubernatorial race, the very latest when it comes to Medi-Cal. A lot to get to, but today is one of those days where we start with a local story and one that maybe caught a lot of people off guard, despite the fact that we knew that the city of San Diego was facing some pretty big financial woes.
Not only are they facing financial woes, they're facing a lot of pushback for virtually any suggestion that we've been hearing thus far. Some of our most prominent stories we've been doing over the past few months, we've mentioned this before earlier this week, when it has to do with cuts, a lot of times it is the pushback. It is both with things to cut, expenses to cut, and revenues to raise. There's a, it's a large town. There's a lot of factions. Every single thing that is being spent money on means something to someone. So you're going to hear that. This, though, is something that is probably going to continue to get a lot of pushback. And I think it's taken a lot of people by surprise. I know it took me by surprise when this report first came out. This was last night. This is when we first heard about it. I was taken aback.
Yeah,
because
December
it's a very
nights.
popular event, December nights.
Yeah,
Yes.
and in particular because it's not the actual event that's like outlined as we will cancel December nights. You'll hear our Shannon Handy is going to explain exactly what leads up to this. But yeah, it's a line item, and this is what happens with budgets, right? You find certain cuts, and then you start to kind of peel back the layers. What is this going to impact? And we'll let Shannon explain, and then we'll talk about this here after the break, or excuse me, after the package airs. But yes, Mayor Todd Gloria has been looking how to balance this massive budget deficit and try to shrink it. It's one of the many cuts, though, here that the mayor has on board. News 8's Shannon Handy is going to explain now why this beloved Balboa Park tradition is suddenly on the chopping block.
We have been reporting on these proposed cuts for weeks, but this particular one has flown under the radar. It was uncovered during a recent budget hearing, and it's taking a lot of people by surprise. For nearly 50 years, December nights has been a holiday staple in Balboa Park that draws hundreds of thousands of people. But come later this year, that tradition may be gone.
It seems baffling.
Peter Comiskey, executive director of the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, says museums and other organizations in the park have already taken several hits. First came paid parking, which led to lower attendance. Then proposed cuts to arts funding, money many of them rely on. Now, news that December nights could be eliminated, something Comiskey says is hard to wrap his head around.
This is an amazing San Diego event. It kept going through COVID, for goodness sake. So now to close it off from a budget perspective, I'm questioning whether there's a more systemic approach to the disintegration of arts and culture in our community.
Can you explain what that means?
The issue came to light Tuesday during an 8+ hour budget meeting. Councilmember Kent Lee flagged a line item eliminating the position responsible for planning December nights year-round. When pressed, the mayor's office said this.
The Special Events and Filming Office is unable to deliver and produce an event as it has in years past, as you all know it to be. So we are in the process of reevaluating what we can make possible to the extent that it would virtually not be happening at all.
Staff added it costs $1.5 million to put on December nights, but Councilmember Lee argues the city is overlooking what the event brings in, both financially and culturally.
I think this is as silly of a notion as cutting fire pits has been. We dealt with that the last budget cycle, and folks were baffled by the small dollar value, but the impact that it has on people's livelihoods. December nights isn't just a celebration of the holidays. It literally brings people in from throughout the county, from even outside of the region.
A spokesperson for the mayor's office told News 8 that no final decisions have been made, saying in a constrained budget year, those costs are part of the broader conversation the city and council are evaluating.
We can't tell what the plan is. And so I would like to believe that the city has the ability to put on events like this.
The city council is expected to adopt a final budget June 9th. Shannon Handy, News 8.
Yeah, so again, it's a position that even though they're not saying we're going to strike that $1.5 million, which is how much it costs the city to put on December nights, it's the elimination of that position, and specifically that they don't believe that another department has the capability to put this on. This was the story that I reported on here this morning, and when I got the assignment, I was like, wait a second, December nights is on the chopping block? I didn't see this in the initial reporting. And again, this is really good work to uncover this. And again, it's almost like, again, Councilmember Kent Lee really pressed the mayor's office to explain what could this mean. And I think that that's a really good example of a civil servant going beyond just what is sort of there and using their pulpit, if you will, to really nail down, okay, what will this mean in layman's terms? And you heard it from the mayor's office, the representative there. And as you saw, the mayor's statement also backed that up as well, too, which is, this is potentially in a budget-constrained era that we're living in right now. This is something that we could potentially see happen.
Yeah, and I'll ask you a question. If you don't know the answer to this, that's fine. But since you were the one who did the reporting, I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of people are, because I kind of loop this into the arts funding in a way, at least the arguments that are being made towards keeping an event like December Nights versus the multitude of events that go on within some of the arts funding. The concept that while this is an expense that someone might find to be overly discretionary, there is a clear benefit that comes as a result of that, whether that is tourism, whether that is culture, whether that is bringing people together into one space. One of the things that they mention is the economic benefit of this. Do we know? Is there any reporting out there? Is there any data available to your knowledge at this moment that shows how much money this generates towards the city?
I don't have that information in front of me, but what I do know is that there is a fee that vendors pay to go ahead and have a spot at December Nights. And I'm not. Were you here in December of last year?
Yes,
you
I was.
Were,
I was at December
attended, right?
Nights. Yes, I did.
I'm assuming that was your first time, right?
Yes.
It's huge. It is physically, like, everywhere you're looking, you're seeing a vendor.
That's why I ask in particular. Because my experience was, I was incredibly impressed. I mean, it is a major operation, clearly.
Which is why I think, again, that the position is what is being eliminated, is why it also is such a head scratcher here. Again, I want to go ahead and pull up what is the actual here position that is being eliminated, because again, it cost the city $1.5 million to put this on. In terms of city spending, that is not terribly a whole lot. We're talking less than or about, depending on, again, the range in which you are looking at the deficit. It's about 1% of what the deficit is, and those in charge of the budget would tell you that, well, every little amount makes it up. But
and we've gone
again,
over that.
They're not directly saying we're canceling December Nights. They're saying we're eliminating the position. So they're calculating the elimination of the position while saying that we're trying to see how it is that we can keep December Nights going. So they're not, at least the way I'm interpreting that language, is that they're not counting on the savings of December Nights being canceled. They're only really calculating the position. Again, if that's not the case, then I apologize for being wrong. But I think that's why Councilmember Kent Lee brought back up the fire pits debacle that occurred. Now, that occurred last year in the midst of trying to balance the budget. They basically said that we were going to eliminate the hours that were spent by employees to go ahead and maintain the fire pits at public beaches. And there was an outroar because it seemed like, why would you take away something that so many people enjoy on a daily basis? And for what was, I think at the time, again, this is something that I'm going to look up here on the fly, but I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It was not saving millions of dollars.
Which is a drop in the bucket.
Which is a drop in the bucket, right?
Budgets.
And that's why Councilmember Kent Lee is bringing that up. So you're eliminating the position, and an effect of eliminating that position means that we lose December Nights. And what you are essentially saying is that minuscule amount of money can create this effect financially and culturally. And is that worth it? I think is really the sort of calculus that the council member is challenging back on that.
Yeah, because if that's something that is chosen to eliminate, it's something that on paper, perhaps makes sense. The idea that this is an annual event, but this is also a seasonal event. This is something that's one time a year, a year-round position towards that. I'm sure is something that if you are looking to cut costs, is that somewhere where you would naturally look? Sure, I think a lot of people would accept that premise. But at the same time, that leads to the next challenge: is how do you do this? Is it do you do it by committee? We just learned about, some of the departments in the city, they don't believe that they're capable of doing that. So that is the question that arises if this is something that's being seriously considered. And at the same time, you see council members looking to avoid the byproduct of a potential cancellation of the event.
Okay, so I do have some updated numbers here for you, and again, this is off the cuff research that we're doing right now. But it costs the city $1.5 million to put on the event, and it does not. That's what they're saying. What the cost is like once we account for revenue, that the city is not making money on December night. So it's $1.5 million that it costs them, a net of negative $1.5 million. As for the proposal for eliminating the bonfires, which is the bonfire, that was to save the city $135,000. So, and again, people were like, this was also on the heels of we have this the story of the city cracking down on yoga classes at beaches, and so there was this kind of the cracking down on fun, free, accessible things to do, and sort of like where are we going with this with the city? Now again, December Nights holds a very special place in the hearts of many San Diegans. This has been a decades long tradition. If we could shift to sort of what the political fallout of this would be, me personally, I think that this would be a devastating political hit to any of the council members that sign up for this, or again for Mayor Gloria. The just sort of anecdotal, like what I've been able to see social media reaction, and again, that's not always a good litmus test. But it would be a big hit, I think, and we've seen the mayor be willing to take on these hits. He has said in interviews he knows that a lot of these moves are not popular. He says that they're necessary, and I'm sure that a lot of financially savvy people will say yes. This is a time in which the city is facing a very dire budget crisis, and tough cuts and tough decisions need to be made, and that's something that you've heard the mayor echo time and time again here, both last year with that deficit and this year with this deficit.
Yeah. I think your analysis is hitting the nail right on the head. None of these moves are going to be popular. It is much easier to spend more money than it is to make cuts because, it becomes important to someone once you see that money start rolling in and you see that funding starts coming in to regardless of what service, whatever the grant is, whatever the event that's being put on, etc. So you are going to see a lot of people make bad decisions. And again, we've mentioned it time and time again. We have seen it before, and this is something that everyone is keenly aware of. If you are both a local elected official who is charged with making these difficult decisions, and if you're a resident that is angry about these potential decisions and has publicly pushed back about it. You know, we can always point to Balboa Park parking. It was talked about in the story right there. We have seen those cascading effects, and we have seen the political pressures that have been put on these council members and on the mayor to find alternatives to some of the solutions. But it's important to acknowledge that that is just the nature of the situation that we find ourselves in right now. So no one wants to see a grant go away. No one wants to see funding go for X, or we don't want to see funding go away for Y. But the reality is that we're going to see it in some way, in some form, in some fashion. And while we hope we're not sacrificing the big events like this, it is inevitable that key restructuring proposals are going to be considered when it comes to how are things being done now and how are they going to be done once the new fiscal year begins.
I mean, you heard from the official with the Balboa Parks, and I don't want to make sure that I get his name correctly here. This is the executive director of the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, Peter Comiskey, who, again, outlined, look, we've been taking hit after hit when it comes to the city's sort of budget problems, right? Like the Balboa Park has sort of, at least publicly, seems to have borne the brunt of a lot of the changes when it comes to the parking, now potentially here with December Nights. And he said, look, this is something that got through COVID. And when he said that, I was like, wow, you're right. This was something that was not even canceled by COVID. I remember specifically it became a drive-through event. It was that important of an event to the city of San Diego that despite all of the cuts that had gone on in terms of being no longer in person, trying to make sure that things were as safe as possible, that this was something that survived COVID. And again, I remember being in a mask, being there as we were showing that people that you were going to drive around the vendors and be able to sort of take it. And I kind of likened it in my personal experience to like those drive-through zoos that you go to, like in Florida. They have this one, I think it's a Lion Country Safari, and you drive around and the animals are walking outside, and you would drive around Balboa Park and the vendors would be outside. They found creative ways to keep the event going, and I think that the community will push for that. They will say, whether it's a donor, whether it's someone else who can step up big. We know that the county has stepped up in absence of the city with a couple of $1 million that they voted on.
Yeah. For
I saw Supervisor Jim Desmond had a scathing letter in response to that. Again, likening the county to the city's personal ATM. But again, these are the times that we live in right now, where the city. Again, they're not directly going to the county, but the county is taking that up to try to fill the gap. Is it going to be the county that steps up to try to keep December nights going? Because there is a tourism impact. There are people that come down. I think oftentimes people think of tourists, they're thinking of people like, from the Midwest. There are thousands of people that probably come down from the weekend from like just north of us.
Yeah,
LA,
Los Angeles, of course.
Ventura County, whatever it is.
I went to school
Riverside.
In Orange County. I've been one of those people.
Yeah.
I've done it myself. So
Right.
yeah, completely.
It's a cool thing to come down for the day. You walk in, you're able to just kind of go around, get some good food, see Santa, see the lights. You go up to the top of the museum, you see everything. I mean, it's a really cool event.
Yeah.
And again, I think for a lot of people, they're going to hope that the city comes together to try to find a way to keep this going.
Yeah, tough decisions, of course, are
Yeah.
on the horizon. So, and it's just add to the list of statements that we have seen, just pile up from all of these different organizations who understand that they are in the direct line of fire when it comes to some of these cuts. So, when we discuss pushback, when we discuss resistance at these meetings, it really is substantial. So the task at hand for the mayor's office, for the city council, is immense. We've talked about the sheer scope of that dollar deficit. So some hearty debates, of course, are ahead, and we've outlined the timeline. In about 10 days or so, we'll see a revised proposal. We'll have another public hearing. I just want to make sure I have this correct. June 9th.
June 9th.
When we need to have when we
final
will get
budget
the final
needs to be adopted.
vote. So some key dates to keep an eye on. Of course, this is not the last time we will be discussing this. Like we just mentioned, more public hearings are on the way. But
and mind you, I should just say that some of the solutions that might come out might also upset other communities in order to try to satisfy these communities and people who enjoy things like that. So this is not going to be a process where, because this deficit is so big, this is not going to be a process where it's going to be like, okay, well, we're going to come back, we're going to put some more money in, we're going to have December nights, and then everybody's happy. There are going to be folks who are left unhappy.
There's going to be winners and losers when you're eliminating a over $100 million budget deficit.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be a deficit.
Of course, and the city can't run on a deficit.
Right.
So a lot of reporting coming your way here in not just the next few weeks, in the next few months, because not only are we going to see the vote, we are going to be seeing the residual effects. And of course, you guys know that this is something that us and the wonderful journalists here at CBS 8 will be covering as the months roll on.